Where do we run when fear is staring us right in the face? Hi everyone, I'm Thomas and welcome to my channel. I do educational video content on many different subjects that you've only gotten a sample of so far, but in the future months we'll be getting into a lot of sacred mathematics and geometry, physics and chemistry, astronomy, maybe astronomy, diet and fitness, history, and probably several other topics. Right now, I'm focused on working with the tree of life, which is something that I feel is important because it's kind of like the common denominator between all those other different subjects. It gives you a resource so that when you learn all these other subjects, or really you have to unlearn and then, or possibly unlearn and then relearn different subjects, it gives you a place to store it in your memory so that you not only can remember it, but you can understand it and utilize it. So this is the tree of life right here. It's an ancient diagram, comes from way back, at least as far as ancient Egypt. The ancient Hebrews used it, they called it Kabbalah, in a slightly different form and a starkly different interpretation as well from where I'm coming from. And so you'll be getting, even if you do have studied Kabbalah, you'll be getting something different from this version of the tree of life. The tree has 12 different categories, which 10 of which are these circles or spheres that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then there is an applied sphere here called the abyss. And then there is a 0 above the tree, which is a total of 12 different categories. So these categories are generally thought of as being kind of like our faculties of consciousness, or our abilities of consciousness, or our facets or aspects of consciousness. And there are many different ways that you can interpret all this. But for me, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of a distraction here because my phone is ringing and it's covering half my phone. So, and I'm recording, I do all my recording with my phone. So, okay. Now, when we break down the different the different spheres, what we have is the 10th sphere is really, in terms of faculties of consciousness or abilities of consciousness, the 10th sphere is like our wild animal consciousness. So this is like the law of the jungle, kill or be killed, survival of the fittest, fight or flight response. It also has to do with, the condition of our body, and also really like the defilements of our body and the addictions and lusts of our body. We generally, when we are born, this is really all we've got. This is all the rest of this is in our potential, but it's not really opened. Okay. So the 10th sphere is kind of all we have. And to be honest, there are people who go through their entire lives and never open any of the other spheres. So their whole life is spent as a struggle for their life, to remain alive. Their whole life is spent in the jungle, trying to survive. And hopefully, as we awaken to this great awakening, we can make it so that that doesn't happen. Then, if we move up to the 9th sphere, the 9th sphere is what we generally get from the home environment, the domestic sphere. You could think of this kind of as mammalian consciousness, but it's really what we get in the first years of our lives, growing up in the home, when we're highly receptive and we are basically taking it all in and trying to learn. And we learn from with our memory and copying and imitating, practicing copying and imitating. We watch what our caregivers do. We imitate them. We see how they walk. We try to imitate that. We try to copy what they do. We're much smaller, but we try to copy what they do. All their different mannerisms, everything that they do, we're trying to copy it. So this is what we get in the night sphere. We're just soaking it all up like a sponge, and it's pretty much indiscriminate. It doesn't matter if it's so-called negative behavior or positive behavior. We're trying to soak it up. And again, there are many people that grow up in this world that they open up their night sphere, and then that's as far as they get. They don't. Their whole life is spent just kind of copying what other people have done, particularly their role models or their caregivers. Okay, now when we go to the A sphere is somewhat similar to the night sphere in that it's pretty much indiscriminate, and it's also it's basically a copy. So the A sphere is where the night sphere is the domestic consciousness in the home. The A sphere is the public consciousness out in the real world, so-called. So when we go to school, we get exposed to this. Even when we go over to the neighbor's house or whatever, we get exposed to a public, kind of man in the street, but mainly the A sphere is operated by the establishment and the institutions. So the churches and the schools and the expert opinion, the guys in the white lab coats, the people with all the initials after their name, the media, and the governments. They tell us kind of what we're supposed to be doing. They tell us what we're supposed to believe in, and they tell us how we're supposed to behave. And so they give us our belief systems and our behavior patterns. And they more or less tell us that if you do this, if you do what we tell you to do, then your life will turn out well. Because we have all the power, we have all the resources, and so we can control if you're able to, make a decent living and have a good life, a so-called good life, according to kind of the way that we define it. You're comfortable. If you follow all the directions, you will find that you'll get good grades, you'll get into the good schools, you'll get a good job, and then as long as you keep following the directions, you will get promoted, and you'll find yourself, as a member of the A sphere. You'll be a junior member of the A sphere if you just follow all the directions. So first of all, we end up having a lot of people that never do open up the night sphere, open up the A sphere, but they're in the night sphere, and they spend their time pretty much preoccupied with the A sphere. Like, how am I going to get into the A sphere? If I do this, then maybe I can get into the A sphere. If I get a good grade on this test, I have a better chance to get into the A sphere, blah, blah, blah. And then you have a lot of people that do get into the A sphere, and they do the daily grind, they get their good job, and it's quite vapid. They just follow the directions. They learn to kind of regurgitate the belief systems, and they also end up justifying the belief systems through rationalization. So these are kind of the faculties at the A sphere are belief systems and rational thinking. being able to separate things out into their categories, and you're also end up being beset with all of the fallacies of rational thinking, such as circular reasoning and rationalization. So that's the important thing to know about the A-sphere, is that it is a trickster. Okay, this is an illusion, a master of illusion. Okay, now the seventh sphere, whereas the eighth sphere is about the real world, the seventh sphere is about the imaginary world. So this is for people who maybe get into the eighth sphere, or maybe even don't get into the eighth sphere, and they take a U-turn and are like, I don't believe what's going on here, or I find it very problematic. And so I come over here, I imagine something better. And I'm inspired by other people who are doing different things, and I am informed by my intuition that this is what I should do instead. And I have a creativity spark within me to create something new and different. I have a pleasure principle within me that makes me want to put things together into harmonious wholes and pleasing situations. And so I use all of these tools of the seventh sphere in order to create alternatives to the eighth sphere, whether this is a song, or a book, or an invention. These things are all things that you come up with that present alternatives to the eighth sphere. Now, it's difficult because what happens is the eighth sphere basically will just approach the seventh sphere, and they'll offer you a bunch of money to give them your creativity, because the eighth sphere has no creativity. They have to convince the seventh sphere to give it to them, which they usually do through money. And then they'll turn around and they'll take your masterpiece that you spent years putting together, and they'll turn it into an advertising jingle for them. So at the seventh sphere, you come up with your alternative, but then as you move up to the sixth sphere, that's the process of like really taking control of your alternative instead of just giving it back to the eighth sphere. So the sixth sphere is a central sphere where everything is connected. You are here. If this is a map, it would say you are here, and this is where we're located. This is our free will faculty. This is our ability to pay attention and to make decisions. Now, we find ourselves here at the sixth sphere, but in general, we're paying attention in this direction. Okay, we're paying attention to the eighth and ninth and 10th spheres, which are our conditionings and our habits, our comfort zone. This is what we grew up with. This is the area where we're very comfortable, and so we tend to pay our attention here. And but the other aspect of the sixth sphere is our ability to make decisions. So here we make the decision to turn around our attention and focus our attention on the higher aspects of the spiritual. So of the faculties that we have, even though those faculties in general are not open, not as open for sure, because we haven't really spent very much time up here. And so we go from a situation of like the known, so-called, where we're really accustomed to this area, and we turn ourselves around and we're facing the unknown. So that can be very scary, and that's kind of what we'll be talking about a little bit later in the more advanced portion of the show. So now the sixth sphere is looking into the unknown, but by kind of focusing on the fifth sphere, the known can begin to become, the unknown can begin to become more known. The fifth sphere is our sense of justice, or karma. Karma is the enforcement of the law, and the law is coming from the fourth sphere, the natural law that comes from observations about how the world actually operates. And it's all put together into a cosmology or holy book, and it explains everything, attempts to explain everything about who God is, where we came from, what is our relationship with the universe, what are we here for, and all these questions. And the fifth sphere is the enforcement of that law, which is more or less based on, the Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And also, as you sow, so shall you reap. And what comes around goes around. And those things are just like a mirror into the fifth sphere. What comes around goes around. And the fifth sphere is based upon violence, waste, and violation. So that is how our karma judges us. It judges us according to how much violence is in our actions, how much waste is in our actions and intentions. And it feeds back to us that that violence and waste. If we act violently, we get violently acted back, and we can use that as feedback, as something that helps us to fine tune our behavior to eliminate that violence and waste. So that's how we can come to know the fifth sphere. We can use the fifth sphere, the karma, as one of our teachers. In the same way as here at the sixth sphere, we use the fear as our teacher. Like if it scares us, then it's something that we probably should be trying to do, because it goes against all these conditionings. At the sixth sphere, we have to take these conditionings and we have to turn our back on them and then face upward on the tree. The fourth sphere, in addition to being the cosmologies and the universal law, is also the universal language and the universal love, our ability to give, seeking nothing in return, and to love our enemies. And then the universal language as innate languages that all people can understand: body language, telepathy, things that you don't need to study in order to be able to understand. Then we have the psychic powers, our ability to tune into and recognize omens, synchronicities, coincidences in our lives, recurring numbers, recurring themes. These are all things that occur in our lives, but sometimes we either don't notice them, or we kind of put them to the back of our mind. Did I just see that? Oh, forget it, But then the other aspect of this would be the psychic heat. Okay, the first is psychic receptivity, to be able to recognize the omen. But then the psychic heat is the ability to act upon that omen. So those are the two components of our psychic powers. And then 3, 2, and 1 above the tree are basically our divine aspects within us. 3 being omnipotence, all powerful. We tap into that through sound and sound synchronization. And then the second sphere is our wisdom faculty, omniscience, all knowing. And this is our ability to solve our problems, which we do through being able to shut our mind down of thoughts, and to be able to either focus on exactly one thought or no thoughts, and stay off the content, and to be able to see inside, inner sight. So this is this is all seeing, and this is all hearing. And we also have a surrogate wisdom faculty, which is the divination system, or the oracle. And then above or at the first sphere is omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally. And so this is the unifying factor. This is the kind of the singularity we have within us at our deepest center. And that singularity is our divine spark, which is exactly the same singularity that is at the divine spark at the heart of every other thing. So it's a unifying factor. At our deepest center, at our core, is this singularity that it's the same for everyone. So that unites us all together. And then the 0 above the tree represents the mystery, and also it talks about inner peace, but it's really the mystery and the unknown and the 0, the nothingness. And that's because the 0 is not part of this universe. There is no 0 in this universe, but there is a 0 that is part of the creator. So the 0 is not part of the universe, but it is part of the creator. So we only have really like indirect access to the 0. Okay, now in my teaching model, I broke it down to a little bit more advanced version where I take the whole tree and I apply it to each sphere. So 12 mini aspects or mini faculties of the 4th sphere, 12 mini faculties of the 7th sphere, 12 mini faculties of the 9th sphere, and so on, for a total of 144 different mini or fractal faculties, which I refer to as the stages of life. These stages are not chronological stages, but they're dramatic stages. So all the world is a stage, and there are 144 different ones that we have to negotiate. I've put together that list of those 144, and we present those each one, each day in these videos. If you'd like to get a list of all of them, just click the link in the description and I'll send you out a list. It'll help you as we go through these to kind of compare and contrast and just to keep track of all the different ones and how they fit into the order. Today we're looking at number 54. Okay, where do we run when fear is staring us in the face? And so this here boils down to the 6th sphere. This is in the 6th sphere, and it is the 5th fractal of the 6th sphere. Okay, the 6th sphere is about free will faculty. This is about our ability to pay attention and to make decisions. And the 5th sphere is our karma, sense of justice, and our teacher, our fear, really our teacher, because it's giving us feedback on our actions. So here we're really in the 5th fractal of the 6th sphere, and it's called Take the Plunge. Stage number 54 is about facing fear and acting in its face. Into the fire or the water, take the plunge. Into the unknown, baptisms. Accept the existence of a conspiracy. Make our stand here, stand in the face of fear. For when fear is staring us right in the face, staring us down, we know that's actually a good sign. After we peel away from our comfort zone and pay attention to our spiritual aspects, we find ourselves staring into the unknown. The mere prospect gives us butterflies in our stomach. But this is all the more reason to put ourselves out there. It shows we are on the right track. So lock up our dreads and unlock our opportunities for growth, for spiritual growth, for emotional shrinkage. Comes only from challenges. Facing our fears happens in real time. Nothing to fall back on. No scripts, no narratives, no rehearsals, no personal histories. It's a novel situation. New to you, new to me too. Fear is a great teacher and a true friend, a great template for us. The pressure rises, so the game speeds up. But at this point, we're winning just for trying at all. Just hang in there. We'll get our bearings straight eventually. We'll speed up too. Just like high schoolers going to college or college students going pro. Eventually, we will speed up. Meanwhile, we're winning just for standing in the face of fear, just for trying at all, just for putting ourselves out there. Measure of our willpower. Shaking, no matter. Take our lumps if need be, but mostly we'll dive into the void and nothing will happen. Fear will flatten. We'll make a soft landing and be happy we did it. The paper tiger of fear is really cuddly, fluffy, and bluffing. Ignore its histrionics. Fear is funny. Laugh at it. Otherwise, ignore it and do what we need to do. Make our stand here, stand in the face of fear. Okay, that's number 54. Take the plunge. It's the 5th fractal of the 6th sphere. And thank you for making it to the end of this video. Please, if you'd like a list of those 144 different fractal faculties abstracted, just click the link in the description. Also, hit the like button and share the video with others. Subscribe to the channel, and you can even donate to future videos through Venmo or Cash App. And stay tuned for tomorrow, where I will be rolling out another one of the 144 fractal faculties, along with that's the introduction. Now, you know, normally in these videos, the first 2/3 or so of the video is just the beginner's version of the tree, where I just go through the 12, and I know that can be repetitive, and if you want, you can just fast forward through that. But I think it's really good because that is how the tree is learned, is through repetition. And so if you can listen to me repeating kind of the same thing, I try to throw in 1 or 2 new wrinkles every time. So I try to mix it up enough so that you get something new each time. But I'm going over the same territory every time. But that's how you learn the tree. And so if you listen to me just doing the same thing over and over again, you know, you'll get it. Eventually you'll get it and it'll click for you. And that's what we're looking for, is that thing for it to click for you, which happens as a result of it really getting kind of immersed in your memory, where it's old hat to you, where it's like, okay, I know that's you know, I know what the 6th sphere is exactly. I know how the 7th sphere works. You know, 7th sphere is all about imagination, intuition, you know, creative spark, you know, inspiration, and like you just have a gestalt of that, where it's like all that just comes all at once, and you just kind of have that whole picture. That's the place that you need to get to with the tree, where it's all like you remember all of it. And you know, not until that point will the magic really begin to happen with the tree. But once you really commit it to memory, you know, do the diagram yourself, freehand, or you can use a compass and a straight edge, but do the diagram yourself. You know, write it up yourself. You can get the list from me, but you know, it's important to do the writing yourself, and that's how you're really going to learn it, and it's really going to enable you to take off with it. This is really an ancient computer, and it's really it is magic if you finally get it to the point where it's in your memory. So I can't emphasize that enough. And you know, that's why That's why I go through the description of it 144 different times, is because that's how you're going to get it into your memory, is by just, repetition. It's not that different, it's not any different than, taking your algebra class or whatever in high school. There are certain things that you just have to memorize, and once you get it, then you can build off it. Okay, so all right, so tomorrow we'll be doing a new one, and stay tuned. Have a great day.